Welcome to the Knit and Grace podcast. Let's talk about fall making plans. Hello and welcome back if you're a returning viewer. If you're new here, my name is Mia and I am the maker behind Knit and Grace. And on this little corner of the internet, I like to get up to all things fiber arts related, primarily knitting, but I also do quite a bit of sewing. I'm a fledgling spinner and occasionally I crochet. I tend to put out episodes in the traditional project recap style, as well as making journals and fiber travel vlogs, and I am passionate about making clothing that fits you no matter your size. So if this sounds like something you might be interested in, grab a cup of something cozy, click that subscribe button, and settle in for today's episode. So today we are going to be talking about fall knitting plans, which, based on what I'm wearing, it is still summer, but hopefully cooler weather is on the way. And this is the time to really get going on your fall knitting, especially if you are like me and have a lot of fall travel coming up. So we are going to focus primarily on, or actually all on knitting today. So we are just going to focus on the knitting plans today. And yeah, we will jump right in. But before I get started, I do want to just walk you through what I'm wearing, which I just took out of the cabinet, so it's a little wrinkled, but I haven't worn this one actually at all this summer. I just realized when I was going through my cabinets, I was just, trying to find something light and airy to put on, and I realized I hadn't worn this yet this summer, primarily because we've been having quite a few heat waves, so I haven't left the house quite a bit. But, or at least in my knitwear, I should say. So what am I wearing? I am wearing the Anker's summer shirt by Petite Knit, and I finished this back in May of 2023. I knit this in Lion Brand Kobu and on size 6 needles, which is 4mm needles. I will, like always, link my Ravelry project page below so you can figure out my notes from there. I did do a few modifications to the pattern, like I added in short rows and things like that. And as always, if Ravelry is not accessible to you, you can always comment in the comments below, and I'm happy to answer any of your questions. But yeah, I love this top, and so I was shocked that when I realized that I hadn't worn it yet this summer, and I'm thinking that I might even have to do like a fall version because I really love the way that it fits. But I digress. We are going to talk about the fall knitting plans. If you've been here for a while, you know that I put out these plans with the best of intentions, and then things happen. My spring knitting plans, I was looking back at the list and I've only finished one of the 5 projects. So here we are. But I did realize that I do tend to finish a lot more of my fall knitting plans. And I think the reason for that is because in the fall, I'm knitting for specific events. and for specific reasons. So I have deadlines. And so I think that tends to be the reason why I actually get through my fall knitting plans. Whenever I put these videos out in the spring and the summer, it's a little hit or miss whether or not I'm going to finish the projects. But for this video, like I mentioned, it's going to be all knit stuff. And I'm going to break it up into 4 sections. So the first one is going to be covering my project for a trip that I have coming up in September up to Cambridge, Massachusetts for my convocation. The second portion is going to be Rhinebeck. And then the third portion is going to be Barcelona Knits. And then we will have some honorable mentions. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Okay, so the first project that I'm knitting, and I guess I'll talk through the first event that I'm knitting for. I will be going up to Cambridge to my convocation. So I recently gained admittance into my master's program through the Harvard Extension School. So I'll be heading up there late September, and because I am who I am, I decided that I wanted to knit a sweater. Hopefully it'll be cool enough to wear it that weekend. And I am test knitting the campus cardie for Amy Sher. And so this pattern is still in testing. It will actually be released, I think, the same weekend that I'll be up at Cambridge. So it'll be fun to take some pictures up there while I am wearing the cardigan on release weekend. And yeah, so as always, I'll link my Ravelry project page below so you'll be able to see my notes as I go along and as I finish the project. And so this is a little bit of a cheat because I am almost finished with the project. And then once it's released, then you all will be able to actually pick up the pattern, which will be linked, through the Ravelry. So I had been holding it in a fairly new to me project bag that I picked up when I was in Philly recently, which is by the Redesign brand. And this is their project bag number 9, which is really cool because it's like this rectangular bag. And then when you open it, it lies flat. And so I had been holding my project in here, but you'll see it's actually now gotten too big for here. So I think that this is going to become the project bag for a different project that I'm going to talk about. But like I mentioned, this is the Campus Cardie by Amy Sher. And this is what my cardigan is looking like. So I literally have one sleeve to go and it's finished. For this pattern, or I'll walk you through the pattern first and then I'll talk you through the actual cardigan that I'm making. So as I mentioned, it is in testing and it'll be released at the end of September. It is a DK to light worsted weight V-neck cardigan that's worked from the bottom up, and it's featuring 2x2 ribs throughout. There are 2 views, so you can knit it cropped with no shaping, which is the view that I'm knitting, or you can knit it full length with subtle A-line shaping to accommodate your hips. And as always, bust darts are included with all of Amy's patterns for anyone who needs extra shaping in the front. And the gauge for this pattern is 20 stitches by 31 rows on US 6 or 4mm needles, which I did get gauge on the recommended needles, which has been nice, and I am just about done with mine. So like I mentioned, I'm knitting the cropped version, no shaping, and you can see the 2x2 ribbing, and it's just a classic fitting cardigan. It does have a set-in sleeve, which is really great. So it's a seamless set-in sleeve. You pick up your stitches and then you work your cap shaping and then you work the rest of the sleeve. And I'm absolutely loving this. I'm not going to get into too much details because, of course, I'll do that when it's an actual podcast. But I am knitting mine in Newburgh Yarn Co. British Wool DK, which is the BFL Masson blend that is or has become pretty popular recently. And this one is dyed up by Newburgh Yarn Co. and it is the color Coleman Red. And this was part of Kim's summer camp or summer camp out collection. I forget exactly what it's called, but I will link all of the information below. And I did even get my buttons, which I ordered. And so I ordered these really cool steampunk buttons that I'm going to put on my cardigan, and they are shank buttons, which is nice, so I don't have to worry about doing a needle shank for my button sew on. So that is my first project that I'm planning on finishing this fall. So moving along to Rhinebeck, I will be heading up to Rhinebeck this fall, and I will be there the entire weekend, so Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I will be attending some of the ancillary events on Friday as well. And so I'll speak more to that as I sort of progress in my Rhinebeck plans videos, but the plan is to be there all weekend. I will be hosting some friends, and I'm really excited. So I have two projects that I have in mind for the weekend, and then everything else is going to be sort of a combination of things that I recently finished that I'll be matching with friends on. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is my accessory for the weekend, because it is a recent finished spinning project. And I'm not going to talk about the spinning project. I'll talk about that in the podcast so you can get more info on that. But I also, actually, this is a recent finished object. I recently made this cute little quilted project bag. Let me open it up. So I recently made this cute little quilted project bag. I use the Kato bag pattern, which I'll also link below if you want to make one for yourself. And I am holding my yarn for this project in here. And I'm so excited. So first, I guess I'll talk to the actual yarn that I spun. And so this is a 3-ply combo spin. I used or actually, let me talk about the pattern first. Why am I like, I'm all out of sorts. You can tell I haven't been in front of a camera for a while. So the pattern, the Grid Gambit by Samantha Guerin, is a cowl. And so it's a DK weight cowl that's worked flat and then seamed together at the end. So you just start at one corner, finish at the end, and you seam it after you've blocked it. It features mosaic knitting with a built-in I-cord edging, and I'm really excited. And that's part of the reason why I am making this. This is going to be, I think, my first official, so this is going to be my first hand spun project that I will be knitting. So I'm really excited about that. And so the yarn. The first one is the one that I spun. So this is going to be my contrast color. And so this pattern is great. I think Samantha recommends the spin cycle yarns if you are not a hand spinner, but this is a great project for hand spinners. And so I created a 3-ply combo spin out of yarn jam and some just generic merino comb top that I had in my stash as part of, this was my Tour de Fleece spin. And this is what it looks like. Absolutely love how this turned out. So the fiber that I used is the Yarn Jam Shanago. The color was Golden Hour. It was a personal gift from Trisha from last year's Rhinebeck. And I wanted to go ahead and spin it up for this year's Rhinebeck so that she could see me wearing it. And then I'm going to go for a low contrast moment for my Grid Gambit and pair it with this beautiful Sonder Yarn Co. Again, that BFL Masson blend. I'm like so obsessed with how these look together. And this is in the color Toast and Honey. And so this yarn was gifted a year ago, 2 years ago, I think in 2023, if I remember correctly, as part of a test knit that I completed for Bear Knit of the citrine jumper. And I had a full skein left over. And when I was going through my stash for complementary yarn for my grid gambit, I realized that I still had a full skein left over of this one, and this would be a perfect time to use up a lonely skein because the yardage is perfect. So I believe that the grid gambit, it's like 240 something yards of your main color, and this particular yarn comes in, I think, 264 yards for 100 grams. 268 yards per 100 grams. So it'll be one of this one, and then my hand spun, which did spin up at a DK weight. It is a 3-ply, and I have about 420 yards of this nice big chunky skein here. So I'll definitely have tons left over because I think you only need like something like 200 yards of your contrast color. So I am really excited to get that going, especially because you never know how cool or warm it's going to be Rhinebeck weekend. So I think that having a little accessory will be perfect for the weekend. And then the next pattern that I'm planning on knitting for Rhinebeck weekend is going to be the Friendship Pullover by Amy Shar. This is a pattern that's been in my stash for quite a bit of time. Actually, I think since it came out, it's been in my stash because I've been a fiber friend for a very long time, and I just never got around to knitting it. And so Amy is actually coming out to vend at a woolen affair, so I figured I should make myself a friendship pullover since it's been in my queue for so long. So this is a DK to light worsted weight pullover pattern. It features a funnel neck and a center cable, and it is worked from the bottom up. It is cropped with no body shaping, and bust darts are included, and the gauge is 20 stitches to 26 rows on US 7 or 4.5 millimeter needles. And so for this particular pattern, because it's worked bottom up, and because I've knit this yarn before, I'm gonna kind of just YOLO it, and I'm gonna cast on. So I'm actually gonna cast on a smaller needle size. So instead of the US 7 or 4.5 millimeter needles, I'm going to knit mine on a US 6 or 4 millimeter needles because I've knit another project in this yarn and I know that I got about the gauge. And so the nice thing with it being bottom up also is that you can do kind of the Elizabeth Zimmerman style of, or technique of gauge swatching, if you will, where you actually knit your sleeves first. And so then your sleeves are done. So once you're done with your body, you can just join everything in the rounds. And then also your sleeves act as your gauge swatch. And so for this project, I'm holding it in my Matter Root bag that I picked up at Rhinebeck last year. And I'm going to be using Durham Natura Penelope. And I believe, no, I was going to give you guys the wrong color name. This is the color Badian, which is a reddish rust brown color. And yeah, so this yarn is it? Yeah, it says 90% wool and 10% silk, and I have knit with this before. This yarn was also gifted. If you have been watching the podcast recently, you know that I have taken on some part-time work for Amy and the company. And so before that, I was an affiliate and I had affiliate credit with the shop. So in order to close out my affiliate program, so that I'm no longer receiving commissions, I needed to make a purchase. And so I figured this was the perfect project to buy yarn for. So again, that is going to be the Friendship Pullover by Amy Shar, and I'm going to make it in Durham Natura Penelope. And now we get to the last fiber event of the fall, which is going to be Barcelona Knits. And I think that I can now officially announce that I have a special friend who's going to be traveling to Barcelona with me. Tashi of Stitches and Starlights is going to be coming with me to Barcelona, and we are going to hit up the town, together. So I lived in Barcelona in college for a summer, so I'm really excited. And I have been back since, but it's been quite a few years actually since I've been back. And so I'm really excited to go back and not only explore the Fiber Festival, but also be able to show a friend around a city that I love so much. And for this project, or for this festival, I'm going to be knitting the Calm Down cardigan by Lily Kate France. And so this is another DK weight v-neck cardigan. However, this one is worked top down and it has saddle shoulders. It also features a double knit button band. And this one is meant to be quite oversized in nature, however, have those kind of finishings, sort of like those elevated finishings that Lily Kate is known for. And so I am going to be changing up the way that I knit the pattern a little bit. So for two reasons. One, let's talk about the oversized nature of the cardigan. So because the cardigan is quite oversized, I think for my size, it would account to almost 12 inches of positive ease, which is way more positive ease than I personally like. And so I was already planning on sizing down from the fifth size, which is the size recommended for my bust, to the 4th size. And then when I gauge swatch for my yarn, I am a little bit off gauge. So I will be sizing down further to the 3rd size, however, making the length adjustments that I need for the 4th size so that I ultimately get a cardigan that fits me the way that I intend it to fit. And so I am aiming for the finished measurements of the 4th size, which is about a 52-inch bust. Given my 46-inch bust, that is about 6 inches of positive ease. Okay. And so the yarn for this project is also sponsored, and I promise I don't usually have this much sponsored yarn in one video, but it just kind of worked out that way. And I will be using Pearl Soho plain air base for my cardigan. And this base is, where is the, oh, here we go. It's 67% wool, 33% organically grown cotton. And as I mentioned, it is a DK weight base. And the color I'm using is Sweet Apricot. And I absolutely love how this swatch worked up. So this is my swatch here. And as I mentioned, my swatch is giving me about a 20 stitch gauge. And the pattern gauge is a 22 stitch gauge on a 6mm needle, or not a 6mm, size 6 4mm needle. And so I did swatch with a size 6 4mm needle, and it's giving me a 20 stitch gauge. And I think that's probably as tight as I would go with this yarn. So I am just going to make some adjustments to account for my gauge. So right now this pattern doesn't, or this project doesn't have a project bag, but since I'm wrapping up the other cardigan and that one no longer fits in my redesigned project bag, I think that that's going to be the one that goes in there. So now that we've talked about sort of the 3 big plans and I am quickly running out of battery on my camera, I'm going to talk about 2 other projects that I want to knit up and then a couple of honorable mentions. Okay, so one of the projects that I do want to knit, or the next 2 projects that I want to knit, are accessories. And one of them I have spoken to before in my Nashville vlog, and it is the Sacred Sheep Hat by Caitlin Hunter. And this is a hat that can be knit at any gauge from fingering to worsted weight. And it is a color work hat that features a really thick double knit brim. And so for my hat, I picked up this yarn while I was at Nash Yarn Fest this spring, and so I will finally get around to knitting it, especially because Becky of A Hand Knit Letter recently talked about knitting her hat for her knit along that's actually just finishing now on September 1st. So I will be unfortunately late to the knit along, but I will be listening to the audiobook and knitting my hat just a little bit later. And so this is the yarn that I have for mine. And so my brim will be in this yarn, which is the Garthenor Presley base, which is organic Polworth Romney Hebridean wool. And it is a fingering weight. And so I'm going to be holding it double to get a DK weight gauge because I got DK weight yarn as my main yarn. This is a DK to light worsted weight yarn. It is the Atlas base by Modern Daily Knitting. And I have one of each of these colors, which are going to be my color work. And so the undyed color is called natural, and then the black color is just called black. So I'm really excited about that. And then the other sort of accessory pattern that I want to work up this fall is one that I'm going to need your help on. So I'm going to figure out how to do a poll in the community area of the podcast so that you all can help me pick out what I'm going to knit, or not what I'm going to knit, but which pattern I'm going to knit. And so another project that I recently finished spinning was this beautiful yarn jam, again in the Shanico Natural, and this is the Fleece Force colorway that Anna of Brook Willow and Casey of Young Folk Knits collaborated with Trisha on for this year. And so this is what my handspun looks like. And I love how, even though it's like was very bright in the braid, it almost looks pretty neutral, even though there's a lot of color in here. And so I spun this up as a two-ply fractal, and it's measuring at about a fingering to sport weight gauge. And so I have narrowed it down to 3 different shawls that I would like to knit this with. And so you guys can help me pick the pattern. And so I have 649 yards. It's reading fingering to sport weight. It's a 2-ply fractal. And I also have quite a bit of sport weight yarn, like shawl quantities worth of yarn in my stash. So this is going to be the perfect stash diving project. I don't have to buy any more yarn for it. And so I am thinking of 3 different patterns. One is an Andrea Mowry pattern, and the other 2 are Amy Christopher's patterns. So the patterns that I'm thinking about is, and I think the front runner for me right now at the moment is the Cinnabar by Andrea Mowry. And I'm really into this one because I think that I'll get a really, really big shawl, and depending on the main color that I use, which I have some pretty light colors, I have some neutral colors, and then I have some darker colors, it would be really, really fun, especially because it is brioche. So I feel like it would get me, or it would keep me really sort of going a lot of the way. So kind of keep me entertained, I guess. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyways, I really love the look of this shawl, so this is one of the options. The other option is the Hesper shawl by Amy Christopher's, and I really love, and both of these are mosaic knitting, so which I think, you know, Amy Christopher's is like one of the people that's known for a lot of mosaic knittings at the moment, and so this one is very reminiscent of quilt blocks. And then the second one is the press flowers. And so, of course, I think all of you know that one. And so I am going to choose between these 3 patterns. So I will have a poll in my community page, and you all can go ahead and head over after you watch this video and decide, or help me decide, I should say, which shawl I will knit. And then from there, I guess we'll have to do another poll with what my contrast color or main color will be, because this is technically my contrast color. So those are the official fall knitting plans for me. And if you're thinking that's a lot, it is. But, you know, I wouldn't be me if I weren't just throwing yarn balls to the walls and going crazy with the amount of projects that I want to knit. But I do really want to quickly wrap up with 2 honorable mentions just because continuing the inspiration from stash, I have been inspired with my stash to sort of think of some other patterns. And so one pattern that I'm thinking about is the Study Session by Samantha Guerin. When Sam released this pattern, I was like all over it. I was like, I need one. Sam also released this one around the same time that I started school. And again, sort of keeping with the Harvard red crimson, I happen to have sport weight yarn, which this is a sport weight pattern in a sort of crimsony color. And this is Rowan Sport from Primrose Yarn Co. that I bought in Rhinebeck, I want to say 2022. And this is the color Bonfire. And so I definitely have enough of this in stash. This is a 3-ply sport weight. It's 325 yards, so 100 grams, and it is 60% superwash merino, 40% non-superwash merino. It's milled and dyed in York, Pennsylvania. And so I have quite a bit of this in stash that I had intended for a different project, which I'm no longer really interested in knitting. And so I think that this yarn will be perfect for the Study Session by Sam. And then the other honorable mention, which I think will definitely be one that gets started. And so this one is more of a, it's going to get started. It's definitely not going to get finished. And I will put in pictures because the yarn is still packed up nicely in its plastic. And so I don't want to take it out. But I do want to, I've been getting the itch to knit another half and half triangles wrap. And I think that this is the year that I'm going to start my second half and half triangles wrap. And so I did order one of the kits, I believe it was the Terrazzo kit, when they were having one of their 25% sales, maybe like at the beginning of the year, is when I ordered that one. Or no, actually, I ordered that one when they were having the Mother's Day sale. I lied. I ordered that one when they were having the Mother's Day sale because then I ordered the, no, it was before the Mother's Day sale. Around that time, in the spring, I ordered this kit because I wanted free shipping. And I was like, I've been eyeing this kit forever, you know, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to drop $80 worth of yarn so I can like get free shipping. Because, you know, that's totally logical. But I've been eyeing this kit for legitimately probably like 2 or 3 years. And so finally I bit the bullet and I ordered it. And so I'm hoping to get that started sometime in the fall. If not in the fall, definitely in the winter. And that'll be kind of like my winter cozy project for this year. So that is all that I have for you all today. If you have made it this far, thank you so much. And don't forget to do all the podcasty things, like, subscribe, and click that bell icon so you're notified every time I post a video. I know that I went a little quiet for a couple weeks there, just randomly. If you were following along on Vlogmas in July, I kind of just fell off, and there are reasons for that. So I will be having a little bit of a life update either separately or in the September podcast episode. And just a lot of things have been happening. And unfortunately, the last week of July into the first week of August were just really hectic. And things are just now starting to calm down, and so I'm able to sit down and speak to you all more regularly. But I really did like that sort of style of weekly vlogging, so I will, I think, occasionally put out sort of week in the life vlogs here and there, not in like a Vlogmas style until like Vlogmas, obviously. If I do Vlogmas this year, we haven't decided yet, but just where occasionally I have, like, if I feel like I have something fun going on, I might just pick up the camera and do sort of weekly vlogs. I've really enjoyed that format, and it was really nice to sort of show you all what I was knitting real time, just with a little bit of a few days delay. I really liked that interaction where you all were able to really see what it is that I'm knitting and have that conversation with me real time. So I really enjoyed that. But I'm not sure that I'm going to put out another video this month. We will see how the rest of the month goes. If not, I will see you in September for the podcast episodes. So as always, it's the first Sunday of the month, which I believe is the 6th or 7th of September. And that's all I have for you all. Again, if you liked this video, please go ahead and give it a like and leave me a comment, as always, letting me know what it is that you are working on. And until the next one, be sure to take care of yourselves, your loved ones, and each other. And I'll see you next time. Bye.